Welcome to the She Builds Show. I'm your host, Stefanie Olson, a licensed general contractor who builds new construction, renovates, and designs your vision. Today, more than ever, we need raw, authentic women who are willing to rise above society's norms, break those glass ceilings, and encourage each other to boldly build the life we were meant to live. So, honey, what are you building? All right, you guys, we have an exciting day for you today. We are doing, this is my first time. It's going to be a little experiment. We call it the Crossover Podcast, where we interview each other. I have an amazing guest today. She's from Women Talk Construction Podcast. Her name is Christi Powell. And we're going to just throw this against the wall and interview each other on the fly and see how it goes. So welcome to the She Builds Podcast. Christi.
I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for inviting me. I think we met through 84 Lumber, didn't we?
No.
You're a builder?
Yes, I am a builder.
Okay. So anyway, I'm just really excited to get to know you today. I did some research on you and really impressed with what you've been doing, Stefanie. Not only in the industry,
impressed with what you're doing.
Yeah, not only in the industry, but I was really impressed. And I just want to throw this out there. I just have to tell you, my heart was moved last night when I read one and listened to one of your podcasts about how to treat men and how to treat your husband. I think that alone is going to be one of the biggest legacies that we can leave.
Absolutely.
Right?
I actually recorded a podcast. Sometimes I just do it when I have a feeling, or a thought or a kind of an inkling, and I didn't post it. And it was actually about, I had gone into a career fair and somebody there just kind of threw crap all over me. And it was a man in a high, position. And my response to that was, my She Builds name and what I do is not about me against them. Mm-hmm. It will never be about that, because I would never be where I am today without those beautiful relationships and the people that have taken the time, to help me and to teach me. And I just was I wanted to be angry and upset. And I was like, am I giving the wrong message? Because really my purpose is to encourage and inspire women in this industry, never to ostracize anybody out of it. Because to me, it's inclusive, but we can't get women in the industry if we don't call some shit she builds, we just can't.
Yes. They have to see it, right?
Yeah,
and then
they have to know.
And then they want to do it. Yes.
Absolutely. Yes. Well, Christi, tell me how you got into construction.
So I kind of fell into it. Long story short, I was an accountant, and
oh my gosh, did you know I was an in as well?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, I have.
This is
for
15 cool conversation.
Oh my gosh, we are already best friends.
To be honest, I hated it, but it was just one of those paths that I was great at math and I was great at English, and I loved business. So all of my advisors, everybody that I spoke with, all of my trusted officials in my life were like, you really need to be an accountant. You get the numbers thing, right? So I went down that path, but I really didn't like it. Didn't know I didn't like it, but yeah, I didn't like it. But Lowe's came to town and was looking for a credit manager. And that's how it all happened, right? There was a female store manager who saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. And she said, I don't want to put you in credit. I want to put you in sales and commercial sales. And I was like, whoa, that's big. Are you really sure? Because I can't sell Avon, right? I want you to understand where I'm coming from here.
Oh gosh. How old were you at this point?
I was 34.
Okay.
Yeah. So I told her I'd try it if she gave me the opportunity to go back to credit. And so, the store was being built. And I got to drive around in a car and talk to all these cool men who were building cool things. And I wasn't in an office with a door shut. And I was the happiest person on the planet.
Oh, that's awesome.
And we were able to get hundreds and hundreds of accounts set up just because I drove around and introduced myself to people. Told them Lowe's was coming to town. Let me fill your credit out for you, right? And all they had to do was sign it. And so we had over 400 accounts set up before the store opened. And then I got a check that reflected that I didn't even know I was going to get, bonus. I'd never gotten a bonus before. So I was a single mom, and that first time being able to take my daughter out to dinner and not stressing out about it was the most wonderful feeling. I was working 2 other jobs part-time as an accountant still. Wasn't making enough money, right, to make ends meet. That led to meeting a couple wonderful, beautiful men who took me under their wing and said, let me show you some things. I set of blueprints and I fell in love, literally fell in love with a set of blueprints. And so it was all over from there. And I've been in the industry in sales because I love helping people, and really sales, if you focus on serving others instead of, the buy my used car kind of thing, that analogy, you're always going to be successful. If you're helping others, you're always going to be successful. And I've never done anything different, tell them what I can do and how I can do it. And this is what I'm really good at. This is what our company is really good at. And I want to serve you. So how can I help? I was very fruitful in that journey. And a couple of years ago, I just got the opportunity to handle the women-owned business for 84 Lumber Company, the whole company. And we have 260 locations. So really excited about that. I get to lift women up like you, and I get to lift up minorities and help them grow their smaller businesses. And that gets to be my job every day, which is so amazing.
Oh, that's so awesome. What is 84 Lumber? Because I don't know what that is.
Okay. So 84 Lumber Company is a building supplier in the United States. So we have 260 locations, 33 manufacturing facilities, and 14 commercial hubs. So we do a lot of multifamily, and we are women owned. We are the largest privately held building supplier company in the United States, and we're women owned.
Wow, that's incredible. That's so cool. And I love that your passion is to serve. And I think that's just always something that, comes back around for me is I never get anywhere unless I truly am giving and serving. And it's like anytime I can add more value to your life by, through our services or what we do, that is my goal. And I just love that, we're so, similar in that. And I think that is just how you do good business in life. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yes, I love it. And it really makes it worth it, right? You can go to bed at night and just know that you've done the right thing. It's not always easy, right? To do the right thing. Sometimes we lose money. Sometimes it affects our paycheck, but doing the right thing every time, there's no other option.
Absolutely. Okay. So I want to know how this podcast started.
Oh gosh. Well, kind of like this, to be honest. I had a lot of these when I took this role, for the women-owned business for the company. I went from being in the field all the time and had to learn how to walk like a girl, talk like a girl, act like a girl, right? Because I had not worn, I didn't dress like a girl and didn't even like dressing like a girl my whole life. So it was one of those shift changes for me. But I met some women in my local area that had a group called Women Construction Forum. And I was traveling and meeting our people and for 84, but also meeting a lot of women and minorities and asking them what they needed, right? That's how I sell. It's not really a sales tactic. It's how can I help you? How can I add value? Just like what you said, we have so much in common. Once I gathered up all that information and I got a little more involved in this group with Rachel and Angela's group, just having a group of women that made me feel like I wasn't strange was amazing. I had felt like I was on an island all by myself for 27 years. Yeah. So being able to be they not only embraced me, but they encouraged me to be who I am and to strive with my gifts and keep moving forward to help other people because they knew that I loved helping people. That was pretty obvious at first. And so just that support alone increased my confidence exponentially. And once we started talking about it a lot, we started hearing these stories from women that were great, like people like you, Stefanie, that are doing great things out there, that are one of the greatest builders out there, right? And we wanted to tell your stories. And we were hearing so many of them. I'm like, how are we going to do this? We don't have time. And then we were also hearing men asking us, hey, how do we get more women to come to work for us? And we're like, have coffees with all these people. It's getting too much. It was overwhelming. Let's have a podcast. We can do it in our living room for a couple of years. And so that's really how it started. We wanted to tell people stories, but it's gone a lot farther. And we have over 3,800 downloads in just a few months. So it was a need. So we're just having real authentic and vulnerable conversations like you and I are having. Yeah. And we're loving it. Absolutely loving it.
Well, I love it. And I'm so glad that you decided to do that. I think it's so important. And I also completely feel the same way and I think so many women do that for most of my life, I was the outsider. I didn't really fit in with the guys. I didn't fit in with the girls. And, all I wanted to do was be outside, ride my horse, do something with my hands. But I'm also, talented with like the accounting stuff. And I have these other gifts that can kind of confuse you a little bit because it's not really your passion. I felt the exact same way when we started like the Women in Construction group here. And we like immediately had 30 members. And I was like, oh my gosh, these are my people. Like, why wasn't there a freaking like Women in Construction group in high school, where like I knew where my people were, and that like me wearing jeans and just being myself was an option,
Yes.
And I think that I never really felt connected to women until that day, until I was like, oh, because otherwise I felt like an outsider. I'm like, oh, I'm not a girly girl and I don't fit in with these women, in my mind when I was growing up in adolescence. And finally finding women, because I think having strong women relationships, I had always shied away from because I never really fit in. And so I think once I did find them, I saw the importance of those relationships with other women. I generally like steered towards relationships with men because I felt more connected to that. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I can have like girls that are my people.
Yes. And then, when I realized that, I was older. Like,
me too.
Recent.
Yeah,
this was just recent for me, right?
Years.
So I spent a lot of the years of my life thinking that I wasn't okay. Like, why am I so strange? Why do I not fit in really with anybody? Like, and I was like you, I didn't have any women friends. The ones I had during school and then a couple of jobs after school before I fell into accounting, I'm like, I don't know that I really want women friends because they were creating drama and I'm not a drama person.
Right.
So when I started working with men at Lowe's, I was like, oh, right, because I don't hear any drama. I'm out on the road. This is wonderful. But I always had, like you, I read a little bit about you. I've always had mostly male friends until this. And then when I found it, I was like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever.
Right. And I didn't even think I wanted it. Yeah, I know. And I think it should give hope to younger girls that just because you don't fit in with whoever, at your school, actually it was just at a career fair for kiddos from like junior high to high school. And, I was just watching some of the girls that would come up to me that were interested in talking to me. And a lot of them, their friends were men, they were walking around like the one girl with the guys. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was always me. But what you need to know is sometimes those relationships with the opposite sex can either turn romantic or it doesn't become vulnerable in a way that helps you grow. And I think I didn't realize that. I thought these surface level relationships were okay with, the opposite sex as just friends. But I didn't know how much I really was missing women that I could call when I had a question, when I have a need or I'm scared, that you just need in those relationships. And this just recently happened to me. I got awarded a pretty big contract and I was freaking out.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I was freaking out and my good friend, Jamie, I just was like, I'm losing my mind. Can you help me? And she's like, yes. Like, let's meet up, because she's done it before. She's had these, contracts. But I would have never had that friend before. And I know for sure I never would have reached out like that. To ask for help and to, guide me like, hey, because that takes vulnerability and maturity to be able to go, okay, I need these people in my life and I'm going to foster those relationships.
And for a long time, I think, and maybe you're the same way, I think I wasn't willing to be vulnerable. I had been hurt several times. It just had to be the right time. I think it was just the right time. I met the right people at the right time. I think everything happens for a reason. But I wasn't willing to be authentic. I wasn't willing to be vulnerable. I was fighting my way, what felt like through some survival at some points, during my career.
So you won an award. Is this right?
Yeah.
Yeah. You want to tell me about that?
Well, I mean,
I know it's not super fun. I'm not like one to braggy, but I just want to know about it.
It's super weird to me. I'm going to be authentic on this podcast because I think it's really important. I've won a lot of awards this last couple of years. And to me, honestly, the first one I won, I cried so hard. My husband didn't know what I was saying. He was like, you have to quit crying so you can tell me what you're saying. I was so excited that all the work that I'd done and all the conversations and all my passion to help others mattered, right? That was kind of a big moment for me. So the first one was great. And then at this stage, I feel like sometimes I get in a space where I know that my faith is strong, right? But why hasn't somebody done this before now? I shouldn't be winning awards. I mean, it's not that I don't want to win awards because truly, but I don't. I don't really like being out
that's
there.
not your goal.
Yeah, I'm not like really, I mean, I think it's good for our company. It's good for the reputation of our company. It's good for women to see, because I had an awesome wise lady tell me one time, if you don't show these young ladies how to serve and how to serve well, and you don't talk about it, how are they going to know how to serve and serve well? And I'm like, oh, that was kind of like, okay, I guess I'll admit it. But yeah, I sometimes struggle with that. I get kind of sad that there has been so many awards that I've been able to attain. I mean, it's a sad and a happy at the same time. And the sad is that why hasn't somebody taken up that torch in the 27 years that I was boots on the ground and needed it? Right. So that's where the sadness comes from. But we're fixing it, right? By having this conversation today, by sharing with the world that I did win an award, and I just give all the other people in my life just the applause for the award. It's not me. My family sacrificed a lot for me to get those awards, right? They didn't see me a lot. Our business sacrificed a lot, for me traveling and, being in front of people all the time. It's a lot. So it's a good thing and a bad thing in a way, but I feel like we're really making a lot of headway. Do you? I mean, I think this is a good question for you too. I don't know that you've won any awards, but you should. I've seen your website. I see what you've done, and you should be winning awards. And I think us as women, we need to be promoting each other like that. I wouldn't win awards if I hadn't had women and men in my life that submitted those awards for me. Right. And if we need to create that culture of this is wonderful, this is what we do for each other, this is how life is supposed to be, this is how the world's supposed to be, is helping each other up.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, I'm definitely seeing a shift, since when I started, I kind of just was like, well, this is what I'm going to do. And I didn't have anybody except 2 women in California that were contractors. And I went and met with both of them. I went down to LA and I met with Joan Barton of Dirty Girl Construction. And she's been a contractor down in LA and she builds these amazing homes. And I said, would you just meet with me? She was the only person I could Google. And then the other person I found, her name's Carrie, and she just runs these she has federal contracts, and she's been running this business by her. She has her A license or B license or C10, like everything. And she's just runs this. And I went and met with her. And I was like, those are the only 2 people that I could find. And one of them wasn't a Google. It was like a friend was like, oh my gosh, well, you need to meet my sister-in-law. And I was like, nice. And from that,
what's the name of her business? It's connect with her. If you ever think about
I'll send you, she like hides under the radar. Like you can't even find her when you Google her. Like it was like, she is this giant company, but it's like ABC Construction or something that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And she has joint ventures, and she's just the smartest thing I've ever. Yeah. And I called her last week, like before Thanksgiving. And I was like, listen, I got this contract. And she was like, do this, 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 and this. And just, and I hadn't talked to her in a year. But from that point and me going to them and saying, I'm getting my contractor's license, what advice do you have, to now like being exposed to the world of Instagram, which I hadn't before then because I'm old, and finding, well, I just wasn't a part of that world. And now being a part of seeing the other women that may not be locally close to me, but like globally, that we can band together and support each other. And I think that is exactly what my podcast is about, is, just elevating the light to that there are a lot of us, we're just scattered right now. And probably the biggest question I get, oh, well, does every person on your team, is it a woman? And are they all doing the work? And I'm like, are you crazy? Like,
Yes.
there's like
Absolutely
two of me.
Not. We need both of us, right? Like,
it was like, it's not possible.
Well,
but
and we're
someday,
better together.
Yeah, it's
Don't
absolutely
you think men
better.
and women work so good together.
Yes, I do. And I think that like right now we have one of my main people is a man who he can do anything in terms of like, he can frame, he can do electrical, he can do plumbing. And like any chance I get, I put one of my girls with him. And he's the kind of has a deeper faith, and he's just willing to teach and support and like doesn't care that it's called She Builds. And I just love that when we can find those relationships, because we're just passing. What I don't want is the knowledge that these incredible men have gained over the last 30, 40 years of their life and their career for it to die, because there's nobody for it to give to. And so I'm like, let me foster that, because I have these willing women that want to learn.
Yes. Oh, I love that. That's so amazing. But it's so true. I mean, even in my career in 27 years in the field, I worked really well with some of the men in the companies that I worked for and still do. And really, really love that relationship, because we bring two different perspectives to the table, and it gives the ultimate user, whether it be the homeowner, the builder, the GC, an experience like no other.
Yeah.
Because they get the best, or she gets the best of both worlds, right? Mm-hmm. The creativity, the details, and then, the logical thinking and the really hard, sometimes not so easy to grasp as a female concepts of building, right?
Yeah.
So I just think it's always worked really well when we're together, working together. But
absolutely,
we are a dying breed. Like, honestly, like being in the industry for a long time, we do need to be training this next generation, whether it's girls or boys.
Mm-hmm. What have you seen as the biggest change? Because you've been in it longer than I have. What have you seen?
I think the biggest change is that the whole nation is on track to educate the next generation.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing that we need to keep focused on is it is not a lesser job.
Right.
Right. I think that stigma has been instilled in people for way too long. Parents, me, even myself. I don't feel that way because I've been on a different path. But I was never on anybody's path, right? I was always on my own. And so I didn't believe anything anybody told me. I wanted to find out for myself. But not a lot of people are like that. They're not willing to jump out and get out into something different. So I think we just need to, but yeah, the fact that we're educating the next generation, and we're on Instagram and we're on TikTok, and we're talking about all these amazing jobs that you can make 3 times more money than what you're doing right now, if you want to at least see if it's an option for you.
Yeah.
I think that's been wonderful to see.
Absolutely. Yeah. I do think that it's been like, I'm not like a giant fan of social media. Like I'm not either. But I think that is one of the positives, that we're able to connect with people that, in the past have never been able to find each other.
Yeah. We're doing it, right?
Yeah.
Oh, there are women that do that.
Yeah.
And they're really good at it. And look, they're on Instagram. Look at that thing she just built, right? I looked at your Instagram. It's amazing. Your projects are beautiful.
Thank you. It's fun. I love it. I love what I do. Like
it's
the last couple nights I have this project I'm doing for my friend, her mom, and like the schedule is tight. My cabinet guy called me last night. He's like, Steph, are you ever going to do that to me again, where you give me such little amount of time? I go, no, I'm sorry. I just had to do it with, for Christmas, and they're my friends, and I'm really sorry about pressuring you. And he goes, okay, because that was a lot. And I'm like, I know. But every night this week, like something giant has happened. Like we got, everything painted, cabinets in, counters in, tile, like one after the other every day. And
that's awesome.
every night, like at 6:00, I'm like, it's just around the corner from my house. And I'm like, sis, come with me. Let's go see like the cabinets. I got to show you. Like I'm losing my mind over how excited I am. I'm like, that's what makes me so happy, is like you plan so much and you do so many things, and then to see the final product, and like I send them updates, and it's just like, that makes me so happy. Like, and more than that, I'm allowing a family to be closer because they're moving and they're going to be in the same neighborhood. And that like makes me happier than anything. And like in a place that they're going to love. I'm just like ecstatic about it.
Yeah. Well, that's great. I mean, I think that's the passion that similar that kept me in it. All of my customers that I had gained over the years, and most of them followed me everywhere. When they weren't happy at a particular company, they would ask me, would you consider going somewhere else? And I'd be like, well, yeah, because you're my people, right? But probably my favorite thing was being able to help their clients get what they needed and to see the look on those kids' faces when they saw their new bedroom, to see the look on the parents' faces when they, all the things that we had planned and all the selections that we had made in the showroom were exactly, if not better than what they had imagined, right? That's always been the fun part for me emotionally, but structurally, I've always loved, we did a lot of turnkey. A lot of my customers did turnkey. So I would hire the framers and they would frame and I would kind of manage, and we'd have team out there managing too. And the project would be finished and the house would be done. And it'd be like, oh, this is so cool. Just to see it all finished, right? The structure.
Absolutely. I love it. What do you think do you have any, I don't know, you seem like a goal type of person. Are you?
Yes.
Okay. Have you been thinking?
Crazy goal person.
Have you been thinking about anything for next year, or like any sort of thoughts on like the closing of this year?
That's a really good question. I've actually been thinking about closing out this year for a month, and my team and I have been working on action items to finish by the end of the year. So I want to close everything out, have everything clean slated by the first of the year. But I think our goals next year are really to spend more time with 84 Lumber, training our own associates on what it means to be a woman-owned business and how to interact and how to have those relationships with minority and women-owned businesses, because they need us helping them. Mm-hmm. And we heard so many times in the first year I had this role that women and minorities were telling me that people ignore them when they walk in any supply house. Mm. And I want to change that. And if we can change that, then all the other supply houses will want to change that too.
I love that.
That's kind of my goal for life, really.
I hate, how do you deal with this conversation? Maybe you have a better solution. For example, yesterday, I needed to get a shower door and I was in a showroom and I'm like, okay, do you guys, because shower doors and windows and stuff, like there's very specific measurements.
They are.
And I go and I said, do you guys send an installer out, to do the measurements before the order? Oh, no, you can go find a contractor and he can get the measurements for you. And I was like, what do I say to your face right now? Without
well, your first thoughts are not what you say.
Jerk,
that's the first advice I give young students. The first thought in your head is not what you say. But that happens a lot. Typically, I usually just smile and say, what measurement would you like? I am the general contractor.
Yeah.
And usually that alone will kind of change the gear of the conversation. Sometimes you get I don't really want to help you now that I know that, right? I mean, it happens, but then you just find somebody else that will. You find your people, just like you find your people in life, you find your people in business too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And if that guy didn't help me with the shower, when I got there, shower door when I got there, which I would need help with the shower door. Now the windows, I'd have all,
I know. Well, I just don't want to do it wrong, and I'm like, I go, well, okay, well, do you have specs of, do they come in certain sizes? Because I think it was like kind of like a kit. It was this cool black
guidance.
Yeah. It was like, well, tell me what you need. Oh, well, you just need to find a contractor to go measure for you. I was like, well, I have a tape measure. It's not that I don't know how to do it.
That was a good response.
I'm not a complete idiot, but my response was, well, I am a general contractor. I just didn't know if the specifications from the company were particular. That was what I said.
And was he nice about it?
He was, but the girl I generally work with, it wasn't there. And she was like, walked in, she's like, oh, Steph, here's the company. Here's the website. Here's what we need from you. And I'm like, okay, thank you. That's all I need.
Yes, perfect.
But I don't know. I just don't know how to put my foot in my mouth.
For a while, I think in the past, I probably have put my foot in my mouth. I'm sure you've probably been down that road too.
Yeah.
Just because you've had a bad day and you said something and then you walk away going, why did I say it like that?
Yeah. I don't want to be a general contractor in a butthole. So
But no, I've learned as time has passed that if I just I can change the world one gentle conversation at a time.
Oh, yeah, that's beautiful.
Instead of me getting really aggravated and why do you have to talk to me like this? Or why can't you say things a little bit differently to me? If I just look at other people's perspectives instead of my own, whatever is going on with me, I find that you build a relationship that you could have never had before that might be your best friend someday. And that's happened to me a couple of times. And, I wanted to take offense, but chose not to, and then got to know their perspectives. And then I found out I really liked them and I really understood their perspective. And my whole thought process was way off just because of something somebody else might have said to me that was similar. But everybody's different and everybody has a perspective. And I think if you listen to their perspective and you're gentle with your conversation, that you can build something that our whole world needs right now.
Yeah. And I think that that's like just a beautiful way to kind of wrap this up, that we as women don't need to go around with chips on our shoulder of I'm better than you and I am this or I am that. I don't think that type of attitude or perspective has gotten anybody very far in life. And I think if we can, approach this as kind of like a gentle guidance and understanding to people that may not be expecting me to walk in the room or you to walk in the room, and know that like laughter and taking things lighter is probably the best choice, and that we can just approach it with, I'm not trying to prove anything. We don't have to. And I love that as a way to change the world and the industry in this, that it's just this gentle kindness. And I'm also never afraid to say that I don't know how to do something as well.
Oh, yeah. I don't know a lot of things. And I'm happy to say I don't know a lot of things. I surround myself with people that are way smarter than me. And I hope that they get to bigger places than me.
Absolutely. Well, gosh, is there anything else you want to add or talk about?
Well, I do want to ask you about one thing before we get off the call. I even mentioned this at first. Was there a turning point in your life that made you talk about how to treat your husband? That particular podcast that you did really touched me because there are so many broken families out there right now. And I'd just like to know, was there a pivotal time in your life that it just kind of like turned on, or had you always felt that way? I'm just curious because your thought process about it is a lot like mine, but it's not easy to convey to folks who are married, who are newly married, who are thinking about getting married. There's so many people that aren't getting married right now because of the stigma around that.
Gosh, that's a good question. My marriage has not been easy. My husband and I have been through very difficult times about 7 years ago. And it was the therapy, for one.
Yes,
that
love
helped
therapy.
me. Yes.
Love it.
And two, it was the realization that my problems were not because of him. My problems were because of me and the things that I needed to change. And I am all about the mindset and attitude that instead of pointing fingers at people, that I go, you know what? I'm going to clean up the kitchen with kindness. And this is my blessing that I have this home and these kids and these dishes and these clothes. And if I show him love and affection and I show him the way that I love him through the way I talk or the way that I touch him or the way that I comfort him, that I know for a fact, it just goes back to that serving. I know for a fact it's going to be received back to me in the way that I'm looking to feel loved or comforted. And so I go through the attitude of serving him first before pointing fingers at what he's done wrong. Does that make sense? And I think it really took a deep dive look at myself, that I had always switched that up. And I said, you need to change. You need to do this. And
nothing was changing when you were doing that.
No,
right?
And it doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I think that
thank you for sharing.
Imperative to me, just with anything in life. You just don't get, and I think I kind of had to grow through that. And I really had to take a long, hard look at my choices. And I think the biggest thing that taught me that was, it's Pamela Krim. She has the Big Life podcast. And she does this thing every February where it was like 14 days of love. And I think that really shifted my mindset of, oh my gosh, I can just love somebody because I love somebody, and I can outpour to them without absolutely any discussion about wanting anything in return. And she constantly teaches, you can have like a membership with her. She does a podcast every single day. It's called the Big Life Devotional Podcast. It's absolutely incredible. She literally does one
definitely check that out.
Monday through Friday. But before the podcast every day at 5 a.m, you can get on with her and all the people live on Zoom. And we go through our daily routine. And she's just constantly taught me. She just loves her husband so well. And she's taught me what it looks like to love somebody that way. And that's probably where I learned
we
it.
need those examples.
Yeah. It was just like, oh my gosh, if you hadn't experienced it in your life growing up, or you'd never seen anybody else do that, foreign to you. And so the example of that, the way she talks about him and what she does for him, it was like that rubs off on you. You know?
Yes. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah, of course.
You know, you made a really good point. Not all of us grow up in a perfect home, right? And nobody grows up in a perfect home. But I think that we need to be hearing from the Pamela Krims so that we can be a better influence to the next generation too. Like, it's not just about our work. It's not just about building. It's not just about building confidence in others. It's about just being a good example for the next generation so that they can have a better life. Really?
Absolutely. And I think that's what, the podcast when I created it, that's really what I wanted it to encompass. I want to be an example, not a perfect example, but at least talk to people about it, like how to be a good mom and have a business and take care of your home and take care of your kids and take care of your marriage and take care of yourself and take care of your business. And I didn't want it to just only be about this small little thing, because that's not, my friends and I, we call it whole life success. It's and that can look very
There's
different.
No balance, is there?
Yeah, no, there's
just
no
whole
balance.
Life success.
Yeah. And to somebody, success may be, I want to have time every day at 2:00 to go pick up my kids.
I love that.
That could be your idea of success. It doesn't have to be this monetary financial thing. It could look very different. And that's totally okay.
That was my success from my littlest girl from the age of 0 to 6. That was my success.
Yeah. And that's incredible. Like, I think that needs to be valued more.
Yeah, I do too. Gosh, what a great conversation. We could talk forever.
I know. Well, thank you so much. This has been phenomenal. And
yes.
So just before we leave, where do you live?
So I live in South Carolina.
Okay.
That's where I pay my mortgage. Traveler's Rest is the name of the city. So it used to be a traveling spot from Charleston, South Carolina to Atlanta, Georgia back in the 1800s. This was the place they rested. So really cool town, very similar to Asheville. It's getting much more similar to Asheville, North Carolina. But how about you? Where are you at?
I'm in Northern California. Yeah, okay. Chico. It's Chico, California. So northern. We're like a couple hours north of Sacramento.
I just joined AGC in California.
Oh, cool.
So I'm going to have to come out and visit you and check out your job sites and do some videos together.
Oh, that'd be so fun. Are you going to IBS?
I'm not this year. I don't think. I haven't made my final decision. They wanted me to AGC or ABC Carolinas it's our leadership retreat during that exact same date.
Okay.
So I'm still up in the air. I have not made 100% choice, but I'm on the board for the ABC this year. Yay. Yeah. Cool. Excited about that. And so I feel like it's kind of my responsibility to do that first, but I'm like struggling with, I want to be here and I want to be there. Yeah.
Well, maybe next year. I just was thinking maybe if you were going to go, we could.
Yeah. Well, if I end up going, I'm definitely going to reach out to you, but I'm sure we'll see each other this year because I want to stay connected. It was great to meet you and to talk about these great things.
Absolutely. It was my pleasure. And I hope your day is just awesome. And thank you for just being you and an advocate for all of this and being authentic. And I can't wait to listen to more of your podcast.
Oh, thank you. I'm going to be listening to all of yours too.
All right.
Thank you so much, Stefanie.
You bet.
Have a great day and Merry Christmas.
Yes. Merry Christmas. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining me today on the She Build Show. My name is Stefanie Olson. My hope is that this episode leaves you feeling empowered and ready to boldly take that step into building the life that you envision, 1 2x4 at a time. And if you can do me a quick favor, please leave me a 5-star review on iTunes. I get giddy over reading the reviews each week, and I will choose one special person to win some She Builds swag. Make sure you add your name to the review, and I'll reach out if you're the winner. Thanks again for hanging out. Be sure to visit me at theshebuildshow.com, where you can ask me questions and share with me what you're building.